G'day, everybody. Welcome to the Footy Talk podcast. It's a special edition. We're looking at State of Origin Game 1 in Sydney last night. Queensland 38, New South Wales 10. We welcome in two blokes that have done it all in our great game of rugby league. So I'm just going to get into dummy half and give them the ball today and talk Origin. First of all, Wade Graham, welcome to you.
Maroon, great to be here. Great to be here this morning. I wish I was probably in a better mood, but still a little bit somber and disappointed in the result last night. There's so much anticipation to the game, so much build-up. Like, let's be honest, we're talking about Origin after round one of the NRL season's completed. That's how much it fascinates everyone and invests our time and emotion. And then sort of have the incident in the 7th minute that we're going to get into, Suaalii getting sent off so early in the game. It's like the air just got taken out of the balloon a lot because, despite whatever, and they were courageous in that second half too, the Blues, you just know it was going to be an uphill battle from then. You can't go in, like that arena's hard enough, 13 on 13, to have 12 men for 73 minutes. It was always going to end up one way. So, listen, disappointed. We'll dive into the game, but hey, we got to live the fight another day. Game 2's only in a few weeks, down in Melbourne. Simple equation now for us Blues. We've got to get down there and win to keep the series alive. But yeah, plenty to dissect from game 1.
Grub, welcome, old mate.
Yeah, thanks, boys. Like Wado, a bit upset. Like, it's just as soon as that happened,
flat, right?
yeah,
It's
you just go like, look, boys, it's the right decision.
Okay.
Let's be straight. I think so.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah,
Was it
yeah.
the right decision?
I think so.
Yeah.
Like, it was, he didn't miss him. He did not miss him. But you just think, as Wado said, after the round, it's the build up, and then it's like that whole build up, and then bang, one call, one moment, just. The whole game just changes.
Yeah.
And we can question, did we do right? Did we do this? But it just changes everything. And Madge, as a coach, all coaches would have a plan, but you just don't think that's going to happen, do you? You just don't.
I would say this is my thing, right? Because I agree. In the modern game, the way things are, like, that's not a send-off. Direct contact to the head with your shoulder, not just forcefully, like extreme force. I think that is a send-off in today's game. I would just say, we can never have two different sets of rules for different games. It's rugby league. Yes, it's Origin. It's a little bit different. We couldn't have two sets of rules. If there's ever to be a case behind closed doors with a little bit of leniency, like in that situation, Joseph Sua'ali'i is actually doing something he's coached to do. Right? He's coached Reece Walsh early in the game. He's going to be fast out the back. We need to get up and in, jam in. And take his time and put that pressure on him. Came out of the line as a player. If I was his edge back row, I'd be saying that too, mate. Get up and into his face, put some pressure on him, make a collision because he's got to know you're going to be there as the game wears on. So he's actually doing something he's taught to do. He's coached to do. He comes in, he bends his back to make a tackle. There is an element of Walsh slipping. He does he lowers, so it is a little bit of, and Walsh is doing what he's taught to do as well, right? Swing hard out the back, so he's going at speed too. So if there's any case to be lenient in that arena, it's a careless high forceful collision, which in an NRL game is a send off all the time. But it's not as if it's an outrageous act of foul play. He hasn't come out from 3-man in with a swinging arm and collected someone high, or he hasn't elbowed someone on the ground. It's not a deliberate act of foul play. It's just a mistake in his technique and a mistake that's gone horribly wrong. But it's in an area where both players are taught to do what they're actually taught to do, or they're doing what they're taught to do.
Yeah.
So if there's any argument of leniency in that Origin arena, that's the only one you could I could argue.
Yeah.
But in the modern
So
game,
hard
that's
It's hard to say he I don't know if, like, he got it wrong.
But he got
like,
the plan, but that's what he would have planned
Reece
to do.
Walsh was slipping.
But
Like,
he was
he was
slipping.
like, so what do you? So that's the thing. I heard that Fatty Vorton actually said, like, if he wasn't slipping, that he jams him right in the guts. Bang.
Yeah.
Starts it with the intent we want. You can't let Reece Walsh dictate to you at the back.
Nah.
You can't, and that would have been their plan. Like, that's the thing.
That's
so,
what I mean. Like that's like, you would never, like I said, you can never change the rules just for Origin. But like, if there's an agreement behind closed doors, just say, listen, if he's just executing his plan, right? And yes, it's an accident. It was a dangerous accident. He hit him hard, hit him in the head with his shoulder. But he's executing his plan. He's up and in to try and put pressure on Walsh. Walsh is moving at speed. What he's supposed to do he slips over, there's high contact, right? If he doesn't slip over, maybe he hits him around the ball. It's probably one of the greatest hits you ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the way that game is, how fast it moves, particularly early on, it was a mistake and it was a big collision. So if there's any point of argument to say maybe it wasn't a send-off, I don't think it was an intentional act of foul play. It was an accident. But the thing is, we're comparing it to NRL. Like, if he doesn't get sent off then, and the grading comes out as a grade 4, whatever it was, you're comparing that to NRL grading. So there's always going to be that crossover with what's right and what's wrong. Today's game, it's a send-off. It is a send-off, but we're just trying to, in my mind, trying to justify a way to keep the contest alive because you knew what the result was going to be after that.
But if he doesn't get sent, Queensland supporters, and we win last night, he doesn't get sent, they're spewing.
Yeah.
They're absolutely, because like you said, you can't, if you want to keep the rules the same, like every day of the week, that's a send-off.
So just to be clear, you agree it's a send-off?
Yeah, it's a send-off, but like
I agree.
We're trying to find a way.
I'm just trying to.
Yeah, but why do we need to find a way? The rules are the rules. The rules. It's like now this.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, you know why, but because I'll tell you why. It's the biggest arena and the biggest competitive rivalry in Australia, and we built it up for 13 weeks.
Yeah.
And after 7 minutes, it was over.
Yeah.
I know, but still,
That's
we've got
why.
all these people watching football. A lot of them are passives that probably don't watch our game like we do, and they see that happen. This is where the NRL, this is where the referees have got to say the rules are the rules.
Yeah, but
and then you've
I
got
get
this,
it, mate. I get it, but you know what? A lot of people watch our game for that.
I get that.
A lot of
too.
game watch. People are attracted to that too.
Yeah.
Like, you don't tell me if he gets that right and hits Walsh at the ball and it pops up and he lays Walsh out. That's what they're watching for. Liam Martin in the second half.
I love that shit.
Yeah.
And the difference between executing a tackle and having a big mistake, it's like it's half a second or it's half a drop in Reese's his body height. Like you execute the same play, but it just doesn't always come off the same way.
What you're saying, but I'm just saying to you blokes, you've been out there, you've done it. I mean, we should in some ways feel a little bit of, I don't know if the word is admiration, but that referee, that is a very, very brave decision in the heat of that battle, 8 minutes in, to go by the letter of the law. And let me bring this up. Now, David Riccio is a man I have got tremendous respect for. I love what David Riccio writes. I love working with him. But this horse shit about having special rules around players who are sent off being replaced at Origin, this is complete nonsense.
Well, that'll open up a can of worms.
Let's open up a can of worms
no, if
right
you
now.
do that.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah.
Because-
Then we encourage the
just-
foul play, right? Then you can get away with it.
100%.
Like, we don't want to encourage that.
We already pushed the boundaries with Origin, I reckon.
yeah.
You get away with stuff. First kick of the game, Walsh was put on his backside. That's a penalty in the NRL.
Yeah.
So we do push the boundaries
Yeah,
without
yeah,
saying it. It's
yeah.
sort of like an agreement.
Yeah.
Like you are allowed. Like there was one thing, I think Luai pushed someone's head into the
Yeah,
ground.
that's not
That's
on.
a penalty all day.
Yeah.
But I love that.
Yeah, I
They
do
let
too.
him play, but
Yeah.
this was different. This was and it's so hard because they say forceful contact with the head, and it was.
It was,
But at
yeah.
the same time, what do you not want? Do you want soft? Like, do you want him to jam in and slow? You can't. It's our game. It's Origin. That's the biggest arena. We sell this collision. We sell it to everyone. We sold it to America. We sold it. All the videos we sold to America was all these collisions and stuff. But you can't be changing it like for the.
I agree. You can't have special rules because, like it or not, it has direct correlation with the NRL. Right, Suaalii's what he did in Origin is going to affect his NRL now. Right, he's going to get that suspension, so you can't have different. And the last thing I'll say. And it's a hard thing to say because Walsh is one of our best players and he's dynamite with his footwork and his skill. This is not the last time we'll see this with Walsh. We've seen it already with the Taylor May shooting out the back to the collision where he broke his jaw. We saw it in Origin because that's how you have to deal with him. He's so good out the back and he's so fast across field. The only way to stop him is to jam up and in. And it's a high-speed collision. And if anything, when Walsh doesn't lose his feet like normal when he runs, the collision is normal. That they'll make a tackle around the ball, or you'll see that one where he's good enough to catch and get the tip on, and that's where he executes his skill. But when it goes wrong, where he slips or the timing's a little bit out, you're going to see these collisions because defense and defensive coaches will fight fire with fire. They're not going to be just passive and allow the attacker to dictate to them. It's like, well, mate, if he wants to come fast and a speed out the back, he's going to have to pay the price. So get up there and put pressure on him and make it a collision.
And I'll tell you what happens now, right? I guarantee you there's centers in the game right now thinking like, wow, it's everywhere now. It'll be because they're going to be told to jam him every, but then there'll be those ones that actually have a heart and they actually they'll go half-assed, but then he gets done.
Yeah.
Well, that's what Walsh wants. He'll dictate to you every single time. And they'll be like, oh, all right, I'm going, but I'm not fully going. And then you get done.
Right.
Yeah.
But then,
Let me ask you this, boys, because I don't think any of us could understand unless you've been there, again, as I say, as you have. But here's a bloke. He gets his big origin moment. Suaalii takes the player out after 8 minutes.
Yeah.
He didn't want to hurt the bloke. Now he's sent off. How does he feel?
Listen, you can clip this up, and because I want to reshare it. I know he's come out and apologised this morning to his teammates and his fans in New South Wales. Joey, you don't have to apologise to no one, mate. You went out there and you tried to execute your plan. Yes, it went wrong and you didn't execute that tackle, and unfortunately, the repercussion was you were sent off. But you don't change. You don't change your style. You don't change your aggression or your approach to the game. You just need to fix that execution up. And we all make mistakes. You make split-second decisions out there in the heat of the moment, and you can't get it right all the time. So you don't need to apologise. It was a mistake. It was a play that went wrong. I hope this isn't the last opportunity we see him in a blue jersey, because he showed in that 7 minutes some of his his first run. He was so physical. And yeah, I get it. I get the disappointment. You do feel like because of that, you let your team down, and you feel remorseful for it. But mate, you just get after it. You keep improving your game. We'll see you back bigger and better. And mate, there's game 2, game 3 didn't go our way this time, but the Blues will fight back, and we got to just throw our hat back in the ring.
Couldn't agree more. Like, you don't have to apologise. He would feel terrible. Absolutely. You'd feel like absolute crap this morning. But at the same time, like...
It's the game, mate.
But at the same time, boys, like, I get the rules, right? And they have to. He's probably going to get 4 to 5 weeks. But you said it before, Wader, he didn't come out of the line, like back in the old Origin days, and put someone on their head or clothesline someone. He literally bent his back to make a tackle. How we are taught from 6 years of age... Reece Walsh slipped. If he's at the right height, we're talking about the intent he set in that game.
Yeah.
The first tackle he made in the Origin arena, he belted Reece Walsh. Maybe Reece Walsh thinks twice if he didn't go off.
That's the premise of it. That's why you're doing it.
So it's not, he's probably thinking, it costs it. He did it. I agree with you, mate.
They would have planned for that all week.
Yeah.
Mate, I remember in the leader, I actually said, mate, if I was coaching, I'd say, mate, the first opportunity you get up there and put some pressure on him, make him feel that physical contact, that physical presence, and then you can back off in your D and work out whether you want to double D or keep jamming, because... Like it or not, you cannot sit there as an edge defender and have Reece Walsh dictate to you, because if you do, he'll carve you up.
All right, let's put that now to one side and talk about the rest of the game.
Well, that was the game, right there.
Well, the next 72 minutes at least, New South Wales, Grub, let me start with you. Did they get the selections right? And in particular, what did you think of the usage of the bench?
I think our bench was unbelievable. Lenny was our best player by far. He come on and changed the game. Do you know the thing is too, boys, I find? We lost the game, right? We lost comfortably in the end. But there was moments there when we had 12 and we actually looked better than Queensland. We were all we done was we were having those one out carries in behind the ruck with that leg speed. And we were actually on top, which is crazy. Like there's not many moments when you got 12 on the field, you're just hanging on. The boys were hanging on, but there was an actual time there. If I'm Billy Slater, I'm actually a bit worried. They questioned it. Someone said it after the Billy Slater. There'll be a period in that game where we were on top, but that's thanks to our bench. But then I'm just not sure with the Jake Trbojevic, like what happened there.
Why he didn't play? He only played half hour. Yeah.
Well, I just feel they start the game. There was a great defender to tighten us all up. But do you think it's because our bench was going so good?
Well, I think it's just the way the game was, right? two things. One, we're chasing points, right? And we love Jakey, but he's not our most dynamic attacker in there. Like, we have the option of Olakwatu and Lenu off the bench. Isaiah Yeo was going well. And if he's a victim of how the game went, really, Jakey, because he's there to tighten up our middle in defence. Right? If we score first and all of a sudden we get out to a 6-point lead or an 8-point lead, he probably plays the whole 40 minutes, the first 40 minutes, because we want him there holding the middle together. Unfortunately, after 7 minutes, we get a player in the bin. We need our agile players out there because they're more swinging side to side defensively, right? It's not about holding the middle. It's about working extra hard. And then you got two props basically, and you're playing with a middle down the whole time. So I just think it just, styles make fights, as they say. It just wasn't a game for Jakey to get into, unfortunately, because of New South Wales being a man down. It's hard to take positives out of the game for New South Wales. But if you look at some of these stats, Queensland only ran for 120 metres more than New South Wales in the whole game, right? And you got to think about their three of their tries, that all Hemmers tries were line breaks, so there's an extra 200 metres. Daly Cherry Evans made that intercept. There's a line break, so there's an extra 100 or 70 metres. So that says to me, New South Wales' game plan and their style actually was effective. Like, being a man down, they still got up the field pretty easily. Sure, our kicking game probably could have been better on the back of that, but Madgew's plan of going through the front door, like, they looked dangerous. Somehow, through all that footy, all that adversity, we had patches of the game where we were on top, and there were some great defensive efforts from Liam Martin and Angus Crichton, but there is some positives to spin on it. Like, the scoreline, take the scoreline away from it. You can't hide away from that. That's a disappointing result. The result is obviously disappointing, but there's parts of that game that New South Wales can definitely build on, and there's parts that they have to believe in. They have to build on if they want to have a chance in the rest of this series.
Our energy at times was way better.
Yeah.
Like Liam Martin coming out line. Like, we talk about getting it right. He shot out from C defender, which is like very hard to do. Nailed him 2-3 times. Then the next play, there was an error. That's hard. That is hard to do. And then we were up. You could see Queensland were like, what's going on here? We should just be cruising. I reckon Queensland did. They took the foot off the pedal for
there was a couple
15-minute
in
period
after the second
and
half.
like.
Yeah.
You're just like New South Wales, they were ready, but it's just the juice. You speak about having to defend with one less. You got to, you speak about those two front rows that are on. They had to travel so much because Dearden, smart, just kept taking those wide, wide fours, wide three. But instead of having the back rower there, they had a front rower there in paying halves, which is so hard. When you're at A and constantly have to go after that half, it is so, so hard. So, as you said, you can take a lot of good points, but for me personally, I agree with you, Wader. Like, we go to a neutral ground now down in Melbourne. There's a lot of, I think we had better moments than Queensland. There you go. Like, in a sense, when I say that, I mean little wins, little battles. Spencer, there was no one as good as Spencer Leniu on the field last night. He lifted that, but we got to take that in. And when we got 13 players, then you said, but then you leave Jakey on for that bit longer, but with Spencer.
Yeah, 100%.
And then you bring everyone's going to speak about that 29 minutes of Jake, but I agree. I agree. It was just how the game went.
I've seen enough in the style of play. You talk about the bench rotation and the team list. Like, think about the game plan that Madge had and the style he was after. Like, it was pretty self-evident going in what sort of style he was playing. I seen enough in the way New South Wales played in that game, despite being down to 12 men, to give me confidence heading into the rest of the series. Like, of course, Queensland are going to improve in areas, and that's a scary proposition. Like, we're going to dive into them and how good they are. They were last night soon. But as a New South Welshman, yes, disappointed, 100% disappointed, because we didn't really get an opportunity to enter the fight because we had one hand tied behind our back because of the send-off. But there's enough in that game to keep me positive for the rest of the series.
All right, hang on to that, because what I want to do, boys, is come back to the New South Wales thing and talk about whether or not you'd make some changes. But we have to talk about, we don't have to, we want to talk about Queensland. And the first thing I think is like, Wado, we talk about how is he going to use Selwyn Cobbo? How is he going to bring Selwyn Cobbo? 9 minutes later, bloody Selwyn Cobbo is out. I mean, some people are just.
You got the knack, don't they?
Yeah.
They got the knack. Yeah, and Billy's one of them. Like, he's a champion of the game for a reason. Like, that stuff doesn't happen by fluke. He's very like he said it a couple of times in the press conference. Oh, sorry, in the lead up that no one watches more Queenslanders play the game than Billy. He's a student of the game. He would have had plans on plans on plans, and he's talking about you at the start. Always failure to prepare is preparing to fail. Like he was prepared, Billy, and no doubt, like it's a win-win for Billy because we didn't know what his plan was for Cobbo, but if he's there for cover for exactly the incident, what happened to an outside back, and if that didn't happen, he would have had another plan for him. He probably would have came on and executed.
What was that plan?
I reckon it would have been the middle.
Yeah,
it would have
had
been.
to have been,
It would have had to be in the middle.
Last 10, 15.
Yeah, he would have
something.
just sat on the bench, depending on how the game went. If he needed a squirt of leg speed before half time, maybe throw him in there to create a bit of havoc.
Yep.
Or just save him for the back end of the game and just put him on in a roving middle role where he could get at the back of forwards and just cause some damage because he's 6'3" and 105, 106 kilos. Like he's a mountain, man. So and that plan would have probably worked as well. He would have caused some havoc if he was used in that way. But you just got to come back to the experience of Queensland. They took their opportunities. When Suaalii went off, they just kept peppering that edge, that New South Wales right-hand edge, and they found some try like the hammer at fullback. What a player he is. You talk about, when young players come in and you can't help but compare him to other players. He moves like him or he runs like him or he plays like that guy over there. I don't think the hammer moves like anyone. I think he's just got this unique ability. He just floats effortlessly. Oh, I can't even say the word. I'm in awe of him. Just so gracefully across the field. He just makes everything look easy. Even when he was under those high balls, there was a couple of 50-50s kicks coming down to him last night where he had to diffuse it. He just looked like he got up and float. There was no contest. He just took control of that contest in the air. And what a player he is. Like he's up there with the best finishers. Joins a pretty exclusive club to score 3 tries in an Origin match. I think there's only 9 or 10 to have done it before. So what a player.
Did you think though, Josh? Not to interrupt you, mate. So we'll go back to your point, but I know that the Hammer scored a couple of quick tries on the back of the player being sent off, but there was in that moment of the game a couple of just one-on-one tackles that weren't made.
There's some poor misses.
Yeah.
And that's what Madge will be saying, boys. Some of the boys, I reckon, will wake up this morning and without even, you think about, we only had 12 men. But with 12 men, we should have still solved a few of them. Yeah. There was a few early ones. Yeah. Until Critter went over to that the right edge, there was dramas. He solved that. It could have been 50 to 10 if he didn't go on that side. Because that edge, they were in tatters. It's hard. It is so hard to defend when you got one down because you go one out. Like, Nico was in the centres and it's just the way you defend as a centre and the way as half is so different. So it was hard straight away. But yeah, one-on-one misses that just led to tries. And the scary thing for me, boys, is every time they made those breaks, there was 5 Queenslanders in the picture. There was like the Hammer, Did and Footy, and that's Queensland, mate. That's just who they are. And then you got the likes of the one thing, I'll go back to the Cobbo selection, boys, as well. I didn't really bring it up last week in our thing. I think the Cobbo selection goes to show the trust Billy's got in his front rowers, in Cotter and Collins and their motors.
And Carrigan.
Yeah. They just got big motors. So Billy will go, you know what, boys, I trust you to get the minutes out.
Yeah.
And that's why you can afford to possibly have Cobbo on the bench, even if he didn't get on in that 7th minute.
Yeah, because you can do the old 2 swap, right? If, say, you bring Collins off first, right, and just push Carrigan out an extra 10 minutes, and then you actually put Collins back on for Carrigan. So you always got one of your main front rowers out there. Then Cotter we've seen Cotter go 80. He can go all day. It's not unusual that changed before. Remember, Parramatta used to do it actually with Borlo and RCG. They'd bring Borlo off and push RCG out, and then he'd only have 5 or 6 minutes on the bench, Borlo, and then he'd go back on for RCG. So you always have one of your main starting props out there, and it comes back to Josh's point, when the coach has trust in the big man's engine that they can push it out, then it makes that bench rotation. You can get more creative with it.
Absolutely,
you can get a lot more creative with it if you're big men, if you're confident in them pushing out minutes.
Boys, Daly Cherry Evans again last night showed that he is one of the great modern day halfbacks, and he's 35 years old. And, I mean, he doesn't look like slowing down. And, particularly these last, let's say, 3 series, he's just shown what a class act he is.
Just a fine wine, right?
Mm.
You just knew that no matter the situation, like if you put the shoe on the other foot, say Queensland had 1 cent off, Queensland would have adjusted and handled it much quicker with guys like Cherry Evans and Hunt on the field, just because of that experience and that calmness. He would have you could imagine Cherry Evans in that situation almost pull out of the game, get all his workers just doing their job and what they had to do, and then just managing it from a Queensland point of view as a halfback. But then you say that, but he has that mind and that temperament, but he also has the ability to play what's in front and just take that opportunity. Like that first try, it was the last play. They have a shift, quick play the ball. A lot of halfback would be guilty of sending someone else in the hooker, standing back at first receiver, and putting a kick in for their winger, right? Not Cherry Evans. He sensed the moment. He sensed the momentum. He goes, I'm going to have a dab at these. So went in there, grabbed the ball from hooker, exploited the fast play of the ball. Sure, it was a bit ad-lib, found the support on the inside, but just took advantage of that one little moment, one little play of the ball, found some points off it. Like, it's just, he's got that experience and the temperament. He can play both. He can pull out of the game and be a halfback. We saw that in that 40-20 kick where he just went, righto. Nico had a good attempt at 40-20. It got diffused. He went, well, I'll see your 40-20 attempt and I'll actually go and kick one. It's just,
you know what it is? It's just it's composure and it's confidence. Because that's the thing. Like, you go into camps and you go into games thinking, how are you going to score tries? How are we going to come up with points? Oh, maybe we'll get a sweet play, Reece Walsh out the back, blah, blah. No. Just play eyes up footy. One marker. Took the Cherry Evans, takes the short side, cuts back. There was just players flooding in the middle. That's the thing you tell like young halves and young spines. When it's a quick play the ball, flood the middle. And that's exactly what they've done. And Cherry Evans knew it. They were all on the same page. And as Wado just said about that kick, like that hook back kick, he got him out of trouble 3-4 times with that kick last night. And I just love it. He backs himself. Nico Hines, probably his best kick of the night.
Yeah, that was
that long.
Well, that was a hookback. It was a hookback for a hookback.
And that play from Coates, by the way, wow. How did he keep that in? And then Cherry Evans, the next set, just goes bang, inches. By the way, I don't know if it was a 42. Very close.
Yeah, I think it was.
It was very, but like, that's just him.
I would love to check Oates' foot as well. I thought he might have
closed,
touched the grass, but that might have been my blue eye goggles on.
They're just the leaders. They're just the leaders you need, like in your team, to step up in those moments. They are huge moments in games, but these guys, they just step up and constantly nail them.
What we're going to do is take a break. We're going to come back and we're going to ask about New South Wales changes, and we're going to put the spotlight right on you, Wado, and ask you about whether or not you might change 1 or 2 players, and you're going to have to take your personal.
I never take
your personalness.
I always bring my personal stuff.
I know you do. I know you. That's why we love you. Let's take a break. Welcome back, Footy Talk. It's our Origin special. Josh Reynolds and Wade Graham. Let's talk about whether or not there should be some changes to New South Wales. Now, obviously, we've got to get your thoughts on this, Grubby, because you are a halfback, but we have to start with you. Let me ask you a hypothetical here, Wado. Would you maybe not pick Nico Hines again and maybe pick someone else like Mitch Moses?
Listen, that's definitely going to be the question. I got 3 question marks around the selection for game 2, and like I said, I seen enough in that game from that squad to feel confident in their footy if they can obviously play with 13 men the whole game and execute a little bit better. That we got the makings of a team that can trouble Queensland, particularly with that power game. But the question mark's certainly going to be around the Mitch Moses-Nico situation. Which do you lean in favour of Mitch Moses? He was so impressive in that return game against the Sharks. And, take everything away. His kicking game is up there. And we just spoke about Cherry Evans and the effect he has on the game with his kicking game. Like Mitch's long kicking game is unbelievable. And if there's one area that was probably not up to scratch for New South Wales last night, it was our kicking game. And that's an area where we're going to have to look at. The other one was the question mark is probably Dylan Edwards and Teddy. What do you do there? Because Teddy was fantastic last night. He was competing on everything. But if Dylan Edwards is right to go, do you make that change? So that's the question mark that Magic's going to have to answer for us. And we're going to need a centre. Suaalii's going to be out. He's going to be suspended for at least, you'd have to think game
4.
2.
Yeah.
So he's missed a couple of NRL games and he won't get game 2. So is it a Latrell? Is it a Bradman Best? Is it a Ramian? Like where do we
Would
do
Bradman
that?
be fit by then?
I think he will be. I think
Okay.
last night on the coverage they were saying he's a chance.
He's gotta be
I hope
close.
they pick Bradman Best.
Nah, got to put Latrell.
The thing,
You got to, man. If there's one guy, Madge's just got to get him in a room, and just say, this moment in your career right now could be so pivotal. Everyone's against you at the moment, mate. To be honest, and yeah, you haven't probably played your best footy. You're a South fan. You're not happy with the way he's going.
No,
in
I wouldn't
Clubland.
pick him. No, but
But
I'm
if there's
not an
one
expert.
there's one guy who can come out and put fear into Queensland and come up against change a game, it is Latrell Mitchell. But he has to fully buy in, and he has to I want him to come in with that aggressive nature. I want him to still be jamming like we were last night with Suaalii. Unfortunately, got it wrong. There's just something about him, Maroon. I understand where you're coming from as a South fan. I really do. But that's at fullback.
Yeah.
This is in the centres. Big moments. Every time he's played Origin, he's had very, very big moments. Be aggressive. Be that guy that no one wants to play. I hate playing against him, man. He's a bully. We need him to be a bully.
Well, I think for me, I think he's probably the choice as well. But I'd love to see him do it for his club. Like, stand up for your club first and show everyone that you want to play and do it and give us one of those performances for your club.
Yeah.
And then we'll get you in for the state to do it, because like this Nico Mitch Moses conversation, it's almost massively in Mitch's favour, because he's had one performance for Parramatta, changed the whole team. Like, he was fantastic in that game. Like, he was a rep player showing what a rep player does. Like, and Latrell's got that ability. He's got 2 opportunities. He's got this week against the Titans, a Queensland team, and then he's got, I think it's a Friday night game against the Broncos. Ooh. So there it is. He's got 2 games. 2 games to stand up for his club and show us the player that he can be. Because I agree, if New South Wales, want to go down there and we talk about fight and fire with fire, like, there's the guy. Like, he's the guy ready to go, but we need him at his best.
Yeah.
Like, and he's been nowhere near his best for a long time now. And I really hope for himself and for South and for himself and for the Blues, like, we see the real Latrell come back and play these next 2 games and show us all that. Show us you're the man, mate, because he can. He's got it in him. He's got it in him.
That's me. But I think you would beg to differ. But I think Mads will bring Dylan Edwards in. I think he will, only because we didn't win. Teddy had a great game.
He did well.
He did really well, but we didn't win, and that's what it comes down to. And he picked Edwards first.
Yeah.
So I just think that'll be a straight swap.
I think that'll be.
But for me, with the Nico one, like, I actually feel sorry for Nico, because it's so hard as a half, honestly, to play the structure you want with 12. It's so different. So we speak about defensively, you're one out more, you're one defender out. It's the same in attack. You need guys to run, shape and different lines with different roles that they're not used to. You sort of be like, you try and go, down the left side and have an attacking raid, and you haven't got a centre. So it's so much harder. You've always got the underlap. So I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Madge gave him another chance. I'd be happy with that, to give him a full crack with full players. But at the same time, Wade mentioned it before, the kicking game, I don't know what it was with him last night, whether it was, I don't know if it's his calf or not, but he was just sort of pop gunning it up. And they just weren't going that enough higher, whereas Mitch...
It was either not deep enough or not high enough.
Yeah.
One of the two. They just didn't seem to
half,
get it right. Yeah,
and that's where Mitch is just the best in the game. He kicks Para out of trouble. Like, if Para are under the pump, they've got... Other teams got the baseball bats on their try line. Mitch pumps one high and long, and their kick chase has enough time to get down there, and it changes momentum.
Listen, like, for me, and before we move on, I'm just going to say, like, Nico's obviously a teammate of mine. I'm working with at the Sharkies, and I feel for him too, because the circumstances hasn't really gone his way both times. But we've got to be careful. We don't want to put everyone to pile in on him here and shoot the messenger before we get down the track in a couple more weeks, because heaven forbid Mitch Moses goes down in the next 2 weeks and we need him to back up again. But
Wado, surely doesn't Nico, hasn't he earned the right to have another chance? Can't we pick and stick a bloke and give him 2 games?
Good call,
I think for sure, like, we never know if
Fancy being a selector.
I know. It's a hard, and this is the thing. Like Origin, it captures all of us, right? So every decision is scrutinised. Every decision, is right or wrong. And I hope for Nico's sake he's there. And you know, as a mate and as a teammate, I'd love for him to show what he's capable of at that level, like he does at club level. But that's going to be the biggest question mark out of the game. And Mitch Moses, he was fantastic. Like, if he comes out and plays another, is it 2 games? So Nico's not going to back up for the Sharks. So Moses is going to play a massive game against the Dogs.
Camp.
It's a massive game against the Dogs. Yeah. And then they got one more game and they picked. So, listen, there's a lot of water to go under the bridge. Madge isn't going to jump at shadows either. Like he'll pull apart that game. He's probably doing video right now, knowing Madge. Like, he'll cut up that video and look at how the players executed under those circumstances the plan that he wanted to do into the game. And he's looking at stuff that we're not looking at. Like, we're not in those 4 walls. We don't know exactly what Madge wanted from each of those players. Like, we get a general idea of rugby league and how we think it should go. But Madge would have had specific stuff he wanted from each. So he's looking at a different game to us. So we just need to let this dust settle, let the boys back up this weekend. Let them play next weekend and see where we're at with what's available.
We all got to calm down.
Calm down.
Look at us. We're all idiots. It's that hot.
Yeah.
But like this, we just
Who'd
care.
be a selector?
The only thing I will say, just with Mitch Moses, what I love about him, he's the best short side player in the game, and I just feel that's where Queensland. I know we had 12, but that's where Dearden had made many opportunities last night down the short sides. And Mitch, he's not afraid. He'll take one. He'll get caught. He'll take another one and get caught. I just feel those players in the Origin arena, you look at the Cherry Evans incident last night where he took a short side on last tackle. They're the little moments that get you on the front foot, and Mitch is the best at it.
Well, I just want to say that I think and again, I'm just the bloke on the hill, but I think Nico, if he deserves 1 chance, he deserves 2. And you two, I mean, there is no one less deserving in the history of Origin of a chance than Latrell Mitchell. He does not deserve a chance. His club side is so far down his list of priorities. Why should he come from nowhere into an Origin side? Surely if Bradman Best is fit, they pick him.
Well, our thing is, but we're selfish, right? We don't have this.
I know, but he doesn't.
We don't have the South. We don't have the South.
Weren't we picking a team on form? Weren't we? Wasn't that the original thing?
Well, that's what they did, mate. That's what they did. But now the centre stocks are done, and I'm saying I wouldn't pick him yet, Maroon. He's got 2 games to show us what he's got. Be like Mitch Moses, come back from injury, was the best player in the field. He turned Parramatta into a finals team again if they can go on a run. Like, he was outstanding. Single-handedly can show what an elite player can do for his team. Latrell's got that in him. We just need to see it.
See, this is the thing. This is the thing. We're following the same path. This is New South Wales to a T. We already, not me, want to piss the halfback off. Now, the next after
Hold
we
on,
lose,
we just said give him a chance.
After we lose against Melbourne,
we're not playing Melbourne. We're playing Queensland.
After we lose in Melbourne, we want to kiss the coach off.
The Storm.
Like, pick and stick. Pick Nico Hines. Give him another shot.
You can't pick Suaalii, mate. He's got 5 weeks.
I know, but we were picking on form.
Well, who would you have?
If Bradman Best is fit, I'll take Bradman
Well,
Best.
Bradman Best is the chair. I'm pretty sure he'll
What
be
about
a
Jess Ramian?
Well, I just said Jess Ramian too, mate.
You've just got a personal vendetta.
I don't.
Excuse
mate,
me.
No, because it's hypocritical. It's hypocritical, mate. It's hypocritical.
All I'm saying is,
right?
I'm telling you my personal opinion. When
And
I
I'm
come up
telling you-
against
yeah,
Latrell,
yeah.
and if there's a guy who I don't want to play against, it is Latrell Mitchell. If he comes up against the hammer, he will ragdoll him.
Well, I think that if you say that, I'll cop it because you've been there and done that.
That's just me, though.
But I'm only a supporter. I'm only a fan.
But that's just me, man.
If you say that, I'll cop it.
I think we'll see in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, we'll see in how he plays and the body language whether he will be picked in that team. It'll be obvious because Madge isn't going to get anyone in there who's not a hard worker and not in the game constantly. Like, the game that... If he was out there last night and not putting the effort plays in a team where you're 1 man down, like, they probably get exposed a little bit more, right? Because you need to be constantly moving in that scenario. But like the next 2 weeks, like it would have hurt him watching that last night and watching that performance, and something's got to click him in the gear eventually. Otherwise, he's just going to keep toiling away, right? Because they're really just treading water, going nowhere. Like they don't look like a rebuild at the moment. And what are they going to wait for Bennett to come in next year? Like they got to start turning the wheels eventually. The squad's too good. So the next 2 weeks, he's got a couple of opportunities. 2 Queensland teams, a big one that the following week against the Bronx. Like that's ready-made audition right there. So the ball's in his court, mate.
Boys, you know what? Can I be honest with you? I think I think it's not going to amount to anything anyway, because the second game is in Melbourne, and it's just like going to another Queensland. So I think we go to Melbourne. I think Queensland win.
No.
And by the time we get to Queensland, it's the
And you
series.
call us about chopping and changing
Yeah,
this
but
and that,
I mean-
but where's your loyalty, mate? Come on.
Mate, I'm just saying, like, you go down there, you boys know it's like another Queensland down there.
Yeah, but it doesn't
For
matter.
some reason they hate New South Wales.
No, we've got a
We
good
go
record
down
down
there,
there.
60,000,
Melbourne?
70,000.
I feel like
Mate,
we've got a good record down there.
Yeah, but I feel like after what I saw last night, I think that just psychologically.
Well, I disagree.
Well, I'm glad you do.
I'm calling us to win in Melbourne, and I'm calling us to win at the side at Suncorp.
Wow.
Right.
There you go,
Love
Maroon.
it.
Cop that.
No, well, mate, that's just what I think.
Okay, I've got a question for you.
All right.
Latrell has 2 blinders.
Yeah.
You putting him in or no?
No.
Still no?
No way. No way.
But
Oh,
why?
because
For your South hat
Yeah.
or your New South Wales
I would
hat?
say, like, why would you pick him if we're like, mate? The guy does not deserve to wear a New South Wales jersey. The guy does not even. I don't want to go down this road again, but like, doesn't he owe his club? So, I mean,
Yeah, he does his
yeah,
club, but
yeah.
what about New
But-
South Wales? Madge doesn't care about South. We
I
don't
know he
care
doesn't.
about
But
South.
weren't we picking on form? So what? He has 2 good games, and he's in the
So
Origin
he's in
side.
form.
So Ramian doesn't get a pick. Bradman Best doesn't get picked.
Well, I
I
don't
mean,
know.
shouldn't it be who deserves to get picked?
I don't know.
Oh, I don't
you
know
know what?
either.
I would bring. We're talking about form. The guy who's coming in, like, I'd probably like. It depends. It's hard. We're all in hypotheticals right now, but I'd pick Joseph Suaalii again for game 3. Like,
Yeah.
win, lose, or draw. Like, I want to see him in that arena again. I want to see him get.
Yeah,
I want to see him get
totally.
redemption.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm picking him for game 3. So. I don't know. There's a lot of
good?
water to go under
How
the
good
bridge.
is it?
Like, we didn't even talk about our man Lomax. Killed it. He
I
was
know.
unbelievable. I can't wait.
Yeah,
to get
yeah,
I
he
can't wait
did,
to get into
yeah.
Jimmy Graham this week. The hater.
Boys,
Hater.
it's it probably hasn't. Maybe it has because you've been at Origin functions of late. But you know what? It's 10 years since New South Wales broke the drought. Let's talk about those memories of that night. It was such a close game. That game where you finally broke the drought. Talk us through your memories of 2014. They'd won 8 series in a row, and finally New South Wales win an Origin series.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Like it, you know what, boys? I think last night just being there and, I actually didn't know that I was doing the going on the field for the Shield till like last minute. Hocko sort of set it up, which is pretty amazing. But I probably have never really sat down and just had a proper think about, what happened and what we achieved. It's just special, especially because of you sort of look at the team sheets, and I'd love to look at the 2014 ones and like see that Queensland team.
Yeah, well,
I'm going to get it up now.
Yeah, you know what? It was the Queensland spirit, the Queensland spirit.
Yeah.
New South Wales, Queensland. Like it was you and Hocko in the Haas up against, was it Lockie and Cronk?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, JT and Cronk.
Yeah.
And I remember that game. I was 18th man for that game. Game 2.
Unbelievable.
I was sitting on the sideline. You and JT were getting
Oh,
into it.
mate.
Grubby was at his best. He ruffling some feathers out there. It was so good.
The only way we were going to win was that
Make it
because
a dogfight.
Well,
yeah,
because
yeah.
we're not going to. They're just too smart. Look at what Billy Slater done last night as a coach. Like they're just too smart, and that was the thing, and that's what I loved about it. As soon as I got into that camp, I was like, you know what? I actually think this will suit me more than at Clubland, because all I've got to do is get on there and just cause havoc somehow.
Yeah.
Just do, honestly, and people say to me all the time, like, are you proud of that? Yeah, I am. I don't care that I'm not the best player on the field. If I have a little moment where it changes the momentum because of a stupid hit that I've done or something, yeah, I'm proud of that. I don't have to be the best player. I know what my role was in that team, and me and Trent went in there. There's a funny article from the Queensland what's their paper called, Courier Mail or something,
Yeah.
and it was like, who let the duds out when we got picked, and we look at that all the time. We said
yeah.
it to each other, but going into that camp, mate,
Who
you know,
let the duds
it's good. I like it. It's like all I wanted to do from a young boy was represent my state. Everyone does. It's a cliche, but all I want to do. So then I get into it. It's not a normal Origin series. We've lost 8 in a row. You got guys like Gow, Louis, all those guys, Birdie,
Scott,
but
Hoffman.
they've gone through so much, and they've brought you into this inner sanctum, and they've just said, "Boys, lead us." And it was so hard. It was the hardest moment of my life.
Laurie actually. So I didn't play in that series, but I was 18th, 19th man for the whole series. And so to Grub and Hocko's credit, they probably don't get enough credit. For every video session that we did, every meeting, Grubby and Hocko actually got up and presented to the group. So there's a couple of that was your first series?
First, yeah.
Your first series.
Sorry, that's 13 was, but I was off the bench.
Okay.
It's very different.
Okay, yeah.
Very different.
So that was his first series of the starting halves.
Yeah.
And he had to get up, him and Hocko, young halves, and present to these guys. Present to the old hardheads. Present to Gow. Present to Hoffy. And let's present to Gow's not the easiest thing because he's just run hard, tackle hard. Like, he's got that mentality. But they did a good job, mate. And like obviously, Loz backed them, and the boys got out there and they played to their strengths. They knew what they wanted, and they got the job done. A job that 8 previous teams before that couldn't get done. So they got their roses, and they got to present the shield last night. And kudos to you, mate.
Thanks,
Congratulations.
Great moment, man.
And mate,
so cool.
you know what I've said to you at functions and to you at functions, and both times it's involved just by coincidence Gal, right? So I'm not certainly picking out Gal, but I always watch you sort of blokes. You because of the 2014 Origin, you because of the 2016 Grand Final. When you're around those blokes that you achieved that with, it's like you can feel the love, you know, when you're around those blokes.
It's like, you know, when you're around like a group of friends and they got a personal joke and you're not in the joke, but you can just tell they have a personal joke. They have that connection. They know what's going on. That's what it's like to have that emotional connection with someone who you've achieved something. And it's not just achieve. You go for a lot of hard shit to get there, right? And there's a lot of adversity. You don't just turn the light on and achieve it. Like 9 times out of 10, behind all that stuff, there's a long list of uphill battles and times where you've had setbacks and you've had to go through it together. So when you finally get to the mountain, say us in the Premiership or Grubby and the 2014 Origin team ending that drought, you got over the hill. You finally got over the hill. You achieved something together, and it creates a special emotional connection and a bond with those guys, that sense of achievement and that accomplishment.
Yeah, mate, and that's the thing. You don't really, you see these guys around like with Gal and stuff, but then when I see him last night, you're just sort of there and like, 10 years ago, we're running out of that tunnel together. Like he was leading, and it's just like now we're walking onto there. I was more nervous last night, by the way, boys, than actually playing Origin. But it's cool, man. Like honestly, like even just like my family and stuff, like messaging me saying like, what a ride. Because it's not just you that goes on it, right? It's your whole family. It's your friends, all your mates. They're there. They got all the Blues jerseys on with your name on the back, and just what you represent. It's it's a special feeling. And the one thing I'll say too about doing it with Hocko is, mate, I said it last night in a little gig we done. I wouldn't be half the player I was without him, because I was just a hothead, mate. Like literally every game going in thinking, I'm just going to do this, do that. But he actually would calm me down, and we were that close that he could say to me, mate, like, relax. And I wouldn't take it to heart.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he, that moment too, like, it's just him, mate. That, you know, before we talk about moments, took the game on himself. Someone said it yesterday, it was the slowest ever show and go I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But, mate, he got through, mate. And that's just him, and I love him.
He did it, mate.
He did it, exactly right. And I just love it. I honestly love him as a bloke, because he doesn't sit there and go, I done it all. He knows it took everyone and the whole squad.
Mate, Hocko was a tremendous player, mate. Tremendous halfback. Unfortunately, he had that chronic knee injury for the back end of his career, and we didn't see the longevity. Like we talk about DCE and his longevity, and we love that longevity. Hocko was as good as a halfback as Cherry Evans was and is. He just was unfortunately cut short for injury, and that's. You don't always get the fairy tale run with sport. there can be some ups and downs, and it doesn't always pan out the way you want it to. But he had a moment there in his career that he'll always look back on and be proud of. And like someone who I competed against regularly was Hocko since we were young guys. He played for Parramatta. I was in the Penrith competition, and he was a tremendous rugby league player. And you know what? An even better bloke. Even better bloke. So I'm glad you two had a good night last night, Grubby. You deserve it, mate.
Thank you, brother.
So it's, what? It's an old thing we used to say in radio that you don't hear anymore, like these money can't buy experiences. And that's what these are. Money can't buy this shit.
Mate, I'd give all my money back for more of the experience. For more of that joy of your friends, your mates, creating memories. Like you can't take all that stuff with you, but the memories you have forever.
Honestly, even like last night being there, like for some reason, it's something in me. It was the first time I could properly enjoy it, because this is going to sound so silly, boys, right? But up until last year, it's my last year, but there's that little bit of jealousy that you're not playing Origin. And I just wanted to play. I wanted to be in that arena. I was nowhere near it. Last year, I should have played for the Barella Bears A grade. But I was lucky enough to play with the Bulldogs. But when you're playing, there's still that, get me in that arena. Get me in it. And last night, because I've retired, I actually just got to finally embrace it. And just like you said, it's like that moment, walking on the field in front of the Blatchy Blues, mate, how do you, what can compare to that? Like, what can compare to the memory I've got in my mind of, like Wado just said, going up against one of the best halfbacks in the game and just going toe-to-toe with him? I love that.
Well, as Wado said, he'd give all his money back, and that's
a lot.
Well, I'll tell you, just to finish, you know who else wanted to get back out there last night? I think Nate Miles on the piece of the action.
What about that?
Yeah.
Oh, you could tell he wanted to rumble a little bit. The emotion on the sideline, he could feel it. He was up on his toes. If there was a spare set of boots, he might have put them on.
Boys, that's enough. We have to go. And, guys, wonderful insight of Origin, and really appreciate it. And that's it for Players Talk. Thanks, everybody. Let's hope the Blues can get up in Game 2.